Welcome to our home seller workshop. We are so glad you're here, and our goal today is to be helpful, it's to be informative, and it's to help make sure that we're being a resource for you here in the state of Texas for real estate. So let's go ahead and jump in and get started, and I promise today we're going to be as efficient with your time as possible. We also have an opportunity here to ask questions, and so I want to make sure you know that we will have some time here where we can answer some individual questions for you. And if at any point during the time we're together today, you have a personalized question for us, I'm happy to get that answered for you as well. And all you have to do is just little post ask a question over on your screen, and we'll make sure that we cue it as a personal question that you want us to answer, and we'll set up a time to be able to do that. Again, my name is Seychelle Van Poel, and I get the amazing opportunity to lead our team here at Van Poel Properties Group. We are a group of realtors, real estate brokers, and we actually are real estate investors ourselves. And we've been investing here in North Texas and Central Texas for 15 years. We are in the top 1% of real estate agents nationwide, and we are in the top 1% of real estate agents here in Texas. We've also been voted Best Realtors by D Magazine since 2006. And our goals here for today are very simple. The few things we want to make sure we cover is, number one, let's break down what's going on in the real estate market. It's probably the most popular question that we get asked. So I want to make sure that we are answering for you what's happening in the real estate market. The second one is, let's go over current design trends and go over what we're seeing in the real estate market for what's helping homes with resale. Because if you're considering staying, or you're considering selling in your home, or you're just looking for some great ideas, I think it's always good to consider what's going to give you the best bang for your buck as far as your investment goes. We're going to talk about how to maximize the value for your home. And then also, if you are considering selling your home at any point in time in the next calendar year, how you can feel safe selling your home with actually what we have used for 50 clients already, which is our Safe Seller Program that is proprietary to Van Poel Properties Group. Now, I want you to meet Barbara, who is my mom and also business partner here at Van Poel Properties. And I bring her up because she's an amazing business person. She's actually one of the first female business professors at the Macomb School of Business in UT down at Austin. But the reason why I bring her up is because she founded our company, and I think it's important to understand our background as a company and why this matters. Her birthday happens to be September 11th. And she was celebrating getting her real estate license and starting our company on the morning of September 11th, 2001. And I don't know about any of you guys, but I remember that day pretty well. And it's just safe to say that on 9/11/2001, a lot of people were not willing to make big changes, big decisions. There were uncertain times. Our country had just been attacked. And there was a lot of uncertainty going on both in the stock market, in the housing market, in the job market. And that year, Barbara went on to become the International Rookie of the Year for all of Keller Williams International. And she also grew her business exponentially faster and more profitably and more successfully than a lot of her other people that launched that same year. And so I want you to know that we are very comfortable operating in uncertain times. It's actually how our real estate company started. And for us, when we see a challenge, instead of shying away and saying, oh gosh, what are we going to do? For us, we lean in, we get a plan, we develop a strategy, we bring in consultants and lots of outside people to help us come together with that. And we create a very positive experience for our clients. So we're here to help you guys. We have helped over 2,500 clients here. In the North Texas and Central Texas area. We serve Dallas, Fort Worth, and Austin, and all of the surrounding suburbs of those areas, totaling for over $900 million in real estate sales. And when you think about that, the average real estate agent here in the country sells 7 homes a year. You can imagine we have quite a few dog years in real estate that we've got under our belt. And then we're also investors ourselves. And I think that that's important when you're working with a real estate agent or a real estate broker knowing that we're in the market, that we're investing in the market, that we believe in the products that we help clients work with, I think is a really important thing. So many of us on our team, including myself, invest in real estate as well. And we are currently in the top 1%, not only in the country, but also here in Texas, of real estate agents. Here's our team. And if you've ever considered a career in real estate, we'd love to chat with you. We believe in hiring people that want to be happier, healthier, and wealthier because they chose to work with us with Van Pool Properties. And we also believe that's what we want for our clients. We want you to be happy in your homes. We want you to be healthier because you're choosing a lifestyle that you love and an area that you love. And we want you to be wealthier by the real estate investment choices that you choose. So these are some of our amazing team members that we get to work with, and each of them is a specialist in their trade. And what's really unique about the way we operate is we operate like a high-powered doctor's office or attorney's offices. When I go to my doctor's office, someone checks me in that is an expert at scheduling, right? Then from there, I usually am greeted by a nurse practitioner who takes my vitals, asks me all my questions, understands, right? A nurse practitioner is a highly trained nurse that almost could sub in as a doctor, right? They're actually allowed to have their own practice even with one doctor supervising. So the nurse practitioner takes my vitals, orders my lab work, asks me all my questions, and prepares me then to have the conversation with my doctor. So then when I go in for my consultation with my doctor, I have a very intentional, purposeful 15 to 20 minutes with my doctor where I get to ask my questions. I get to really focus in not on all the information gathering, but more the diagnosis, right? And getting to the bottom of what's most important. And then on the way out the door, I'm usually met by a lab technician and also met with a medical billing specialist that handles the help with my insurance company. Well, when you work with us here at Van Pool Properties, we believe in empowering our team members to do what they easily and effortlessly gravitate towards and do best. And unlike most real estate agents who try to do all of the real estate experience, most of the time they're actually really good at 20% of that real estate experience, but they have to do the other 80%. And what we've done on our team is every single piece of the real estate transaction or the real estate process, whether it's buying, selling, or investing, we actually have a specialist walking hand in hand as a team through that process to make sure that you're working with someone that loves the part of the role that they're doing and easily and effortlessly does it. It's something they naturally gravitate towards and they want to see you succeed. And so it's a really unique process that we've done with that, but we found it's allowed us to give such a better customer experience because there's never a point during the process where you have somebody going, gosh, I really do not enjoy this part of your real estate experience. So it's great. We also this year have completely reinvented the way business is done. We've reinvented the way our business is done to increase safety, to boost confidence, and to generate results for our clients in the home buying and home selling process. And our high integrity team provides professional consultations, creative insight, and marketing savvy to help you sell your home quickly for the best price if you are considering selling in this market. So I'm going to leave this up here for just a second. This is how you can reach us. And if you can't see my screen, the best ways to catch us are either you can give us a call at 214-267-9222, or you can email us at home@vanpoolproperties.com. Sorry, that's home@vanpool.com. Home@vanpool.com. You can email us or go on the web and find us at vanpoolproperties.com. And also at any point during this presentation, if you have a question, feel free to raise your hand and I am happy to help see if we can get that answered for you here today. Now, when we take a look, I'm going to move my camera over here. When we take a look at our market analysis, let's dive into what the market is actually doing. So let's take a look and let's go together through the market analysis. So when we take a look at what a home is worth, one thing is we take a look at what a home is worth, and we take a look at what a home is not worth. And what your home is not worth is, unfortunately, what you paid for it if you're selling at a loss, what you need out of it, what you want out of it. Your home is also not worth what your neighbor's house sold for, because odds are your home is different than your neighbor's. But here are some of the factors of true value that I want you to consider, that we take into consideration when we're selling your home. We do take into consideration what a buyer is willing to pay. We take into consideration what today's market is bearing and what the competition is selling for, right? If the competition's going up, it's going to raise your price. And if the competition's going down, it's going to impact your price negatively. We look at the opportunities for today's financing. That's been a huge one lately in the jumbo market. With financing, that's important because if certain home loans are more fluid or more available, that's going to mean more buyers have the opportunity to potentially purchase your home. Well, in the jumbo market, those are homes roughly over 511,000 here, and the loan amount is over 511,000 here in North Texas. With jumbo loans, we had earlier this spring a contraction in the available money that was available for jumbo loans. And I say that to tell you that what was interesting is it wasn't actually the lenders themselves unwilling to give money. It was the secondary market. So the group that purchases the loans after they're originated. So let's say you work with a mortgage lender or a mortgage broker or a loan officer. 80% of the time, what happens is that your bank or your loan officer generates your loan, and then they sell that loan to a servicer, and the servicer is actually the one that collects the money for the investor that originated the loan, so that your lender can go back out and originate more loans and feed the market. But what happened was the secondary market, the ones that buy the loans, freaked out earlier this year, and they contracted and said, we're not going to buy any more jumbo loans. And so all of a sudden, the originators are sitting there with these loans in the pipeline coming through to closing to sell to these guys. And all of a sudden, they had no market to be able to sell. That's a huge problem. Excuse me. And so when that occurs, that creates a huge issue because you have nowhere for those loans to go. And it created a real problem, honestly, for our home sellers in the jumbo market and our buyers, because we had some homes that were caught in that process. So it was really important for us to continue looking at our options, searching for backup offers, right? Getting creative with ways to make it work. And we were still able to get those homes sold, but we had to get a lot more creative than just saying, oh, well, I guess we'll just wait till the lending market opens back up. So it's possible, but I'm just all that to say that today's financing can directly impact the availability of loans, which means the availability of buyers for certain price points. Today's economy absolutely impacts what's going on, right? And then with the economy, I also want you to take into consideration that we typically follow the employment numbers by about 6 months. So what typically happens in real estate is we watch the interest rates and we watch the labor market, the employment, particularly in your local area. The national numbers are not as impactful as the local numbers are. And we watch really closely those employment numbers, and we watch those interest rates, because if interest rates goes up drastically, right, we're at all-time record lows right now. But if they go up drastically, that can create a little bit of fear in buyers that they're not going to get the deals that they wanted. And also, if we have a ton of people losing their jobs, that can create some angst in the economy as well, which then can affect the housing market. What's interesting about what we're seeing here right now is lenders have been more willing to work with home sellers than ever before if they feel like they can't make their mortgage payment. And that's a really rare thing. Last time we saw lenders totally caught off guard and servicers completely caught off guard, and they were really unwilling to work with clients, so much so that we were doing short sales for a lot of executives that worked at the banks that were actually unwilling to work with their own employees and clients that couldn't pay their own mortgages. And this time with forbearance, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, they're actually willing to help really make a better opportunity for homeowners than they were before. Well, we'll get back to factors of true value, but that's a little bit on financing in the economy right now. Buyers' perception of location can also impact your value. Your home's location can impact your value. And the time it takes to sell in your neighborhood, right? Days on market can make a difference as well. Let's take a look at the two numbers that we are watching the closest when it comes to real estate and statistics and the housing market right now. So what's interesting to note is if you looked in the Dallas Morning News or the Fort Worth Star-Telegram or the Austin Chronicle, and you're looking at any of the local papers, what you're going to notice is that they typically report off of sold numbers. And the data that they typically use is from a company called the Case-Shiller Index. It's a report that comes out, and it typically comes out once a quarter. The Case-Shiller Index, that's what Wall Street watches. That's what a lot of the Fortune 500 companies watch when they're watching the housing market. And oftentimes that's what the local media outlets watch. Well, there's two things that are important to know with that. Number one, it's a quarterly report. And if you can go back and look at March, right? March took a huge dip in the under contract numbers. So sold data will then lag that 30 to 60 days behind it, because you go under contract on a home and then you have 30 to 60 days before you typically close. Well, if I need to know what's happening in the market today, I can't wait 30 to 60 days from March to understand how to help our clients. So 5 years ago, our team started daily logging in to report what's going on in our MLS. It's data we cannot go back and retroactively pull. So for 5 years, every day, every week, we've been pulling this data. So when COVID shelter in place hit, and then since coming out of shelter in place this May, we've actually been able to in real time report what's going on year over year, month over month, week over week in our real estate, because we can actually see what's happening because we've been tracking it, not reactively, but proactively to make moves for our clients. So the first number we want to look at is under contract, not sold data. Under contract tells us that in March and April, so that was the bulk of that shelter in place 6 weeks that we had, that represented a 24% drop in contracts written on homes here in North Texas. And if you think about it, we couldn't go out and physically show. Part of real estate during that time was considered non-essential. Now, also, as of May 1st, shelter in place opened back up. And if you can take a look at where we are now, my goodness, we had July with the number of under contracts ending at 140% of what we had last year, which was considered to be a record year here in real estate for Texas. So our number of contracts that are being written by buyers on sellers is 140% higher than it was this time last year. And we're right in the middle of our summer market. So buyer confidence is high. You oftentimes, I think, have buyers that have been sitting in their houses and looking around and saying, you know, if I'm going to be here longer, or we're not sure school's going to be fully in session, and I'm not getting into a political conversation here, I'm just saying the facts of science of what we're seeing, schools are not sure how this fall is going to go. We're seeing clients take a look and say, listen, my company is starting to allow me to work from home. Maybe I can move out farther. I've decided I want a pool. I've decided this is too much house to maintain if I have to clean it every single day. I've decided I want to be closer to friends and family. I've decided I want a closer commute if I can get in closer to work when it starts back up. So we have all of these lifestyle changes occurring, not to mention all the relocation coming in that's happening that we didn't have this time last year. And so I think it's really creating a lot of buyer confidence and allowing us to take a look at that. Now, when you say that's great, Seychelle, this is 140% of last year, I want you to see how big this is. This is actually the highest number of contracts written in a week ever in our MLS. And if you look at the past 5 years, you take a look at the highest number of contracts, we've now had multiple weeks, over 6,000 contracts written here in our MLS each week. That's a huge number. And we've had that now for 6 or 7 straight weeks. But you can see on May 17th, that was our single highest week at 7,080 contracts written that week, which was right after shelter in place ended. And then we also have the week of June 14th where we had 6,935 contracts written on houses. So if you're considering selling and you take a look at these contract numbers, I want you to consider that we're in this really unique time where we have never had this many contracts written. It might be an opportunity for you to seize the market and take advantage of something that may not last forever. Because if you look back at our normal times, 4,800 to 5,200 is our average absorption rate per week. And so when you take a look at that as a high number, we don't anticipate this is going to last forever. We think it's going to be a little bit more of a spike and then it's going to level back out. Now, when you take a look at new listings, this is the other number that we're watching very closely. New listings is very important for us to watch at because that tells us how many sellers are willing to take the risk, willing to go on the market, or are willing to sell their homes right now. And if you're considering buying, you want to see not only under contract numbers high, but you also want to see the number of homes that are replenishing the market as options for you. So let's take a look. In March was the floor for us of number of homes hitting the market for 2020, and we were running 27% behind 2019 numbers. So obviously, shelter in place was occurring. People were uncertain, right? We talk about launching in uncertain times. People were very uncertain with what was going to go on, and that caused them to take a contraction in the market, not surprisingly. Now, with new homes hitting the market, we're still lagging by 3.5% of 2019 numbers, but I think that's a considerate increase compared to where we have been. So this indicates we're still going to have a home selling shortage coming into late summer and fall. I will tell you, if you're looking to take advantage of selling your home and moving up, this is one of those really unique times where you have interest rates that are probably lower now than they were when you bought the first time. And you also have a little bit softer, higher end market than we did this time last year. So the odds are, if you're considering moving up right now, you have a really unique opportunity where you have more buyers than inventory available under 600,000, and you have probably a little bit softer, softening market moving at 650, 750,000 and up into million plus, 2 million plus in that market. Now, what does this mean for you? Number one, we have a shortage of home sellers coming on the market, particularly in the high end, or particularly in the low end. We have a shortage of sellers in the low end. And at the same time, we have pent-up demand with buyers wanting to purchase. We also need to take into consideration that over 8% of the country has taken part in forbearance of their home loans. And the concern with lenders is that in the next 12 to 18 months, we don't know how many of those people are going to be able to pay their mortgages. Now, I'm not sitting here saying all 8% of those in the country that took advantage of forbearance are not going to be able to pay, but there is a chance, even if you have 2 to 3% of that 8% not be able to pay their mortgage and go into short sales or foreclosures, if a couple of those happen to be in your neighborhood, that will impact your housing prices, because all of a sudden now you're having distressed sales starting to occur in your neighborhood. So it's just something to keep in mind. If you're considering selling, this might be a unique time for you to be able to take advantage. And you know what, we don't know what the rest of 2020 and 2021 are going to hold. It's likely we could see a market shift in the next 12 to 18 months with phantom inventory of home sellers that are not able to keep or afford their home. But we're just going to have to watch and see. I have a crystal ball, but it's a little murky. It's not quite perfect. But if we're looking out, you know, if unemployment continues to stay high, that's obviously means people can't afford to pay their bills. So we're going to have that. And I do want to make a side note here to say that if you are on here today and you are having trouble paying your mortgage and you're concerned about what your options are, we all the time have confidential consultations to help walk you through your options. We can talk about what options are as far as if you're renting and you're having trouble with your lease or your landlord. And also if you're in your home and you're concerned about how you're going to be able to pay, we can take a look at forbearance, short sales, workouts with your lenders, all sorts of things that we're aware of that we can consult with you on to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to help you. And it will be completely confidential, no cost to you. We're here to be a resource and to help. So if that's something that's going on, I want you to feel free to message us during this time and make sure you let us know what's happening so that we can make sure we're reaching out and being proactive to get ahead of your circumstance, because once you start chasing it, it's a lot harder. Now, in determining value, 93% of our properties sell with multiple offers on them. So we understand how to value properties, and we've been working with generating multiple offers on our listings since 2006. Most real estate agents are just happy to get one offer and they're thrilled to do that. But for us, we really feel like if we can get 1 or 2 or 3 offers and then bid them against each other, we're not only going to get you a better price, but we're going to get you a better negotiating position and oftentimes a backup offer as well if something happens with the first. Now, some of the things that we do to determine your value is we need to gather information about your property. We compile the current competition and recent solds in the area to give you the lay of the land of what's going on. We're going to assess together the current competition and the recent solds in your area, and then formulate the most likely sales price. And I want to be clear that your home's value and your home sales price is ultimately your decision. We'll make professional recommendations based on what we're seeing and what's succeeding in the market, but ultimately, whether you sell and the price that you sell at is up to you. Our job is to give you the education and the information so that you can make an educated decision. And then we're going to review together the home selling process. Now, again, I'm going to put this up on the screen a couple of times. If you are experiencing hardship and need some help with knowing what your options are, or if you want to have a personalized consultation where we can gather some information about your home and run more specific numbers for you, we're happy to do that. We're also happy to have a Zoom consultation, phone call, or in-person social distance visit. If that's something you would like, we're happy to do that and make sure you have any option available for the type of consultation that you want. This is also a great opportunity. If you have any questions, you can post them up in the chat and we'll make sure that we are getting those answered for you. All right, I'm going to move us forward. So now let's get into the fun part, the design trends, some of my favorite stuff. So this is one of the benefits of being married to someone that is a general contractor and an investor. Nick remodels houses for a living, and he and his crews have been together for 9 years. So design is something that we eat, sleep, live, breathe in our homes. And it's so important that even when we work with our sellers on selling their homes, we actually pay for a stager to come in and help work with your things to get it as photo and show ready as possible. Because we know when we flip homes, how they look, how they present, and how they show up makes a huge difference. So if any of you were around design in the early 90s, this feels like this color scheme is coming back in style. We've got deep blues, which blues are some of my favorite colors, so I think that's great. We have earthy muted greens coming back. We still have some of the complex grays, and I know gray can be a really polarizing, I love it or I don't. And so what's interesting is we're seeing the grays, but we're also seeing a lot of bright whites coming back in. Some of my favorite whites I'm seeing right now are Alabaster White by Sherwin-Williams. And we're also seeing, funny enough, one of their base colors with Sherwin-Williams is called Pure White is the name of it. And it's beautiful. Another one they have is also called White Dove. And that's a really beautiful color too. It's a little bit more of a warm white. If you don't love the grays, but you want to lighten up a room, that's a really nice color as well. We've got some soft pinks coming back. Anybody remember the Dusty Rose, right? That used to be a really popular color. I think my whole bedroom growing up was that. And then black. And when I say black, I don't mean to go paint your house black, but we are seeing in some neighborhoods, right, that have that farmhouse look, we are seeing some people go and take the full risk of doing a charcoal gray or a black on the exterior. But more than that, we're seeing it as like an accent wall. And we're seeing some really neat wallpapers, some stick-on murals, and also some accent walls, whether it's wainscoting or different designs going up as accent walls in rooms instead of pieces of art, which I think is a really neat trend. Now, kitchen, where the home is, right, where you live, where you likely entertain, if you have family or friends over, it's often the heart of your home, right? Kitchen trends make a big difference because that's often the part of your house that people see the most. Now, when you take a look at it, darker cabinet colors are coming in style. And so we're still seeing, you know, dark wood. I know a lot of people have dark wood. I would say that it's depending on the style of the home that you have, it can start to feel a little bit dated, but darker painted cabinets is something we're seeing more right now. We're also seeing a pop of color. So we're seeing, like you can see in this island, of mint green or dark blue or yellow or black. We're seeing pops of color with islands. Non-granite countertops are interesting. We're seeing marble. We're seeing Caesar stone, which is something that's newer. We're seeing, you know, all sorts of different stained concrete countertops, all sorts of different things that we're seeing there that are really neat. Quartz is another one that's out there. If you're thinking marble, make sure that your marble is sealed. And we're seeing the lighter countertops being the ones that are more in style. We're also seeing fun standout backsplashes, and often we're seeing them in more of a matte finish than a glossy finish, which is something that's interesting that 10 years ago probably wasn't as much of a trend. And we're also seeing statement ranges, so making those more of almost like an art piece, whether it's distressed wood or plaster or stone or a tile on it, or even sometimes they're doing additional like marble, quartz type of a drop on that, or as a wall behind the range, which is a really neat idea too. In living rooms, I'm telling you what, ceilings are where it's at. We're seeing all sorts of designs with really beautiful coffered ceilings, crown molding, detailing, grass cloth, all sorts of really, really, really neat ceiling treatments to help make a room pop. We're also seeing, as you can probably guess, some shiplap in our living room situations too. And so we're seeing, if you have a vaulted ceiling, running some of that shiplap up there and painting it white looks really beautiful as well. And we're seeing a lot of natural materials and natural fibers and textures. So everything is going to a lighter, kind of a real a solid color for couches instead of patterns, and then pops of pillows or pops of colors. And if you're thinking, gosh, Seychelle, this is really overwhelming and I don't want to have to figure out how to redesign my entire house to be up with the trends, what I will tell you is we're happy to offer some consultation time with some of our favorite stagers to help you figure out what in your home maybe could stay if you're wanting to modernize your look, but not spend a ton of money. They're willing to help you take a look at what you have and maybe give some suggestions and ideas for ways you could brighten it up or update the room without having to spend a lot of money. So we're not trying to spend all of your hard-earned income here. What we're trying to do though is give you some tips and ideas that if you're considering doing updates or considering updating to sell, you can take a look at that. And I want you to think, you know, we've had IKEA now in the United States for about 10 years. And when that came, it brought with it a whole kind of a Scandinavian feel. And so I'm not saying go crazy at IKEA, but what I'm saying is that modern Scandinavian lines when IKEA came in brought a new trend into the United States as well. You can see that with Crate and Barrel 2 launching. You can see that with the websites like All Modern. Even Williams Sonoma and Pottery Barn have a part of their line that's now more modern. Restoration Hardware's gone a lot more modern. So you can see in the furniture design trends, they're moving towards those cleaner line Scandinavian things. Light and bright, natural plants instead of the fake silks are very in. Some of the plants too that help actually purify the air, if you want to know those, are the snake plant. They're also called mother-in-law's tongue. The money plant, palms are another good one, and then ivy. So if you're looking at something that might also purify your air, those are some good ones for you to be able to do. And then the lilies are also a great one as well. I think they're not Easter lilies, but they're you can see them in the corner of one of these pictures, but those also are great as well. And then clean lines and a minimalist feel. Now in the bedroom, particularly the master bedroom, this is where we're talking about that pop of color or some design behind the bed instead of just a really big ornate bed. And you can see in a couple of these bedrooms that we've got either beautiful textiles for headboards, or you've got some sort of detailing on the wall behind it, where instead of having a ton of art and pictures behind the bed, you now have a wall that has been thoughtfully placed in the room to be an accent wall to help design it. Also, you could notice that a lot of these beds have very just muted colors on the bed, and you're really focusing on the high quality textile, a really lush texture, really comfortable, makes you want to cuddle up in it texture, instead of a really busy texture. And the design trend for the bedrooms is it's a serene place, it's a place to be calm, it's a place to be quiet. And so the more muted grays, blues, tans, you know, very soft colors are coming in because it's meant to be a place to be serene and peaceful. And then we're also seeing statement art on the side of the beds and sometimes for the light fixture. And then large scale art over the dressers instead of a lot of small pieces of art. So if you're just looking at ways that you can spruce up that bedroom, those are some easy ideas. And then in the bathroom, I've got some ideas for you that cost money and some that actually cost very little. So if you're thinking about getting in there and redoing tile or a bathtub, we're actually seeing a really neat trend where if you have a really large space with your tub and shower, we're seeing that a lot of people are actually glassing that whole area in and putting the tub and the shower in the same area with like a teak bench, which is really beautiful. And it makes your bathroom feel a lot bigger and less separate. But we're seeing walls of tile. You can see over here, we've got some beautiful wall tile going all the way up to the ceiling to really make that room feel nice and big and light and bright. One thing though I want you to notice behind the mirror and also behind the cabinet is the LED lighting. It's LED tape lighting. It costs maybe $25 and you could do it to backlight a bathroom mirror or underneath cabinets. And it's amazing. We actually did this in my daughter's bedroom because she loves it so much. But it really creates a really nice soft glow that really makes a nice difference and a nice ambiance in your bathroom for not very much. You'll also notice that baskets, either above toilets, hiding your toiletries, or underneath counters is an easy way to kind of spruce up your area, make it feel more organized, but not going as crazy. And then you would be amazed what a light fixture and a couple of switch out of framed mirrors can do. So I want you to think creatively before you go spend a lot of money in your bathroom of what you could do creatively to save money and make it look different or even updated without having to go crazy for the bathroom. Now, if you want us to help with a consultation on that, we'd be happy to Zoom with you or take a look at pictures and make some suggestions, or get our stagers and designers to take a look at that for you too. That's kind of our gift to you for being here with us today. So feel free to do that, and we're happy to help. Now, oh, I'm sorry. John's got a really good question here. He said, you know, if I'm considering doing something like that, should I go ahead and do it right now and live with it for a couple of years, or go ahead and do it if I'm thinking of selling a couple of years from now? Good question, John. You know, what I would say is, if you're thinking of selling, you might as well do the work now and enjoy it and live in it and appreciate it, instead of trying to do it later and down the road. So might as well just enjoy it. If you've got the funds and the time, go ahead and make some of those changes now. Don't let somebody else enjoy all your hard work. Why don't you enjoy a little bit of it too? Now, let's talk about how to maximize your home's value. I think this is something that's really important. When you're going in and investing, what I want to see if you're going to look at selling is, if you're not investing $1 and making 2, so a 2-to-1 return, then it's more than likely that I'm probably not going to recommend that you go do it, or our team is not going to recommend that you go make those changes. If it's something that will drastically increase you selling quicker and allow you to get out of the home faster, and there's some tweaks we can make, then yes, we might do that. But if you're not making $2 back for every dollar you're spending, then more than likely we're going to tell you, no, don't go do that. So John, to answer your question, I'm so glad you asked it. If you're considering doing a larger project, here's where your best bang for the buck is. Kitchens and bathrooms. They have been the same 2 rooms for the last 15 years. I've been in real estate for 16 now. They've been the same 2 rooms for the last 16 years for me. And they're the top choices for renovations still. Now, the thing is, you don't want to go spend a crazy amount. What I would prefer to do is be able to go in and pull numbers for your neighborhood and say, okay, if you're considering selling, here's where you would sell if you go and update your kitchens and bathrooms. And then you can back end that number to say, okay, well, if I'm going to sell for $50,000 more if I do the kitchens and bathrooms, then if I could spend $25,000 to thoughtfully repaint cabinets, redo some countertops, maybe not replace my appliances yet until they go out, and maybe do some updates in the bathroom to make it look a lot better. There's ways to do that without just going crazy. So you need to be budget conscious if you are trying to get a return on your investment, that we update differently to sell than we do just to live. If you're going to live in the home for the next 5, 10, 7 years, then great, you do whatever you want. But if you're going to sell in the next year or 2, let's make sure we're keeping your return on investment in mind. And changing something as simple as countertops can really make a dramatic approach on that. Also, just one thing to consider on the kitchen, we're seeing a lot of times where in the early 2000s and in the 80s and 90s, there was an island in the kitchen with a breakfast bar raised up. I'm finding if you're replacing your countertops and you trim that breakfast bar down to be all the same level as your island, it makes your kitchen feel twice as big. And it's something that they can do when they're installing the countertops. They can just lop that part of the breakfast bar off. Yes, you have to get your breakfast stools because they are a different size now than they were before, but it makes your kitchen feel twice as big. So just something to consider if you're thinking about doing that and you have that whole, you know, lower counter, higher counter combo, might be something to consider. Now, interior projects that don't cost as much that you could probably YouTube and figure out yourself, but make a big difference. Lighting, changing out your lighting, ceiling fans, cabinet hardware, and drawer pulls. You'd be amazed if you just go in and order the same hole sizes of what you have now, or if you don't have any, you install those. Makes a huge difference on how your house feels. Decluttering, I don't know if any of you guys are Marie Kondo fans, but keep what brings you joy. This is a great opportunity to focus on the joy in the world and what makes you happy. Painting, right? Touching up paint or fresh coat of paint makes a huge difference. And then overall cleanliness. You would be amazed actually at what a huge difference just some exterior projects and small interior projects of just cleaning things out can make such a big difference with the way your house feels. Landscaping, this is an easy one. These are some easy exterior projects. Landscaping can make a huge difference, just trimming up bushes or trimming back things, finding a couple of areas you can give a pop of color. Window cleaning, I will tell you, I am always surprised when we clean our windows on our house and it just feels like a totally different house. So I would say get out there and power wash some of those exterior surfaces and get some of those windows clean, and you might be surprised at how great your home looks and feels. Clean up those HVAC units. This is the time where, you know, when you go in between seasons, you want to make sure you get both of our units checked, both your air conditioners and your heaters. Trimming up trees can make a big difference in how your grass grows. And I always say too, if you're wondering what to do, go start at the curb and spend about a minute at the curb just staring at your house as if it was a buyer pulling up to your home, because most of the time people come in the side or the back of their house. There's only a small percentage of homes that are front drive here in Texas, but stand at the curb and really focus on your home and say, if I hadn't been in my house before, what would I think or what would I notice? And then maybe focus on those items and do the same thing, you'd be surprised, at your front door. I want you to stand at your front door and I want you to stand there. I want you to take about a minute, 2 minutes, and just look up, down, side to side, and see what you can do. Oh, and we've got a good question here. Perfect. Sarah is asking, if I'm considering doing landscaping, when is a good time to do that? I would say coming into fall. Fall is usually a great time because it's when everything can sprout before winter gets here. So I would say in the next couple of months, it's a great time for you to consider that. And then another question is, where can I go to find the best lighting choices? Oh, that's a great one. Thank you for asking that. On lighting choices, you have a ton of options, right? You can go to your designer stores, right? We have an amazing design district, and you can go and shop some of those here. But I would even tell you some of the websites that we love for remodels would be like allmodern.com. I also love, there's some companies like Fair, F-A-I-R-E, or I've seen some great lighting choices at home. Lowe's typically has better lighting selections than Home Depot. So if you're going to go to one of the two big ones, Lowe's typically has better lighting than Home Depot from a selection standpoint. I think their buyers are just better on that one. But that might be an option for you to consider as well. But there's a lot of great choices. And then obviously you can find beautiful lighting at Crate and Barrel and Williams-Sonoma and Restoration Hardware, you know, any of your typical housing stores. They've always got some great options too. And then don't forget Nebraska Furniture Mart. There's a huge one here in town. That's a great option too. Now, the most important thing that we're considering is, how do we make this home selling process safer? Great, Seychelle, you've told us about the market. You're letting us know what all is going on, but you know, we also have to consider how we make this home process as safe as possible, because that is the utmost importance in our minds for our clients, is how do we protect you and your home? Well, something that's really neat is that up until this last year, 25% of our clients are relocation clients, and they purchased their homes without ever even seeing them. We've been using video and all sorts of technology, video walkthroughs, Matterports, added photos, driving the property, walking it on FaceTime, getting floor plans. I mean, so many things to help our clients make educated decisions. And I can tell you about this because my husband and I are actually in the middle of one of our investment properties, remodeling it and selling it to a dear friend of ours, and then taking that money and buying a property out of state, never having seen it before we went under contract, and even almost before we close on it. And so I can tell you that this actually can work, because I'm personally participating in one right now. But I'll tell you that over 25% of our buyers last year bought their home over video, and either saw the property after the inspection had occurred, or at some point between then and the time they moved in. Some didn't even see it until after closing. And so it's really important that you have people that can zone in on what you're looking for, zone in on what your priorities are, whether it's lifestyle, location, updates, amenities, floor plans, whatever that is. We're really good at honing in, but that also means that we understand for our home sellers how to market that, to make sure that if an agent isn't as familiar with using that technology, or even doing the virtual walkthroughs for their clients, that we're helping them make sure that they've got that option available to them, and that we're educating them on the process. We also have our Clean Home Initiative, which is we have masks and gloves available, hand sanitizer. We encourage you, if you're showing your home, we usually will send video to the agent first before they go out and show your property, to kind of have some ideas about the house before they're walking in. So it almost becomes like a second showing, which is really nice. So if you're looking at maximizing your exposure, but minimizing the number of showings you have to do, this is actually the perfect time to do it. But to encourage less touching of doors and light fixtures and things like that, we encourage, when you're showing, all the lights on, all the blinds open. Go ahead and leave just the front door. They can lock and unlock if you're not at home, but leave everything else open, and the lights on, so that way you're not having to wonder, like, did somebody touch this or did somebody touch that? So We want to make sure we're getting well qualified and motivated buyers through your home. And then we do have our stager come in, and she can do a virtual consultation or an in-person consultation with your things. And what we found is that by gifting our clients on our dime a 2-hour consultation with our stager, we can really do incredible things with making your home feel as open and photo ready as possible. And just to give you an idea too, if you have some empty rooms, these are actually 2 rooms of some of our clients where it was an empty room, and we were able instead to have our designers do virtual staging with our graphic designers and be able to go in and virtually stage a room instead of having to rely on you buying furniture and filling a space or showing it empty. I think it shows a lot better as this beautifully designed little bedroom and a game room versus just an empty room. So that's something that we're doing a lot right now if the home is vacant. Now, photography matters, and this is something that we invest in heavily. Our photography budget was already high coming into this year, but it's actually doubled because we feel like it is so important to have the photography lead the way. This is actually a home where you can see, if you're staring at your screen, on the left was one realtor's photographs, and on the right is the same home, but our actual team's photographs. Nothing was changed other than that you can see our stager got a hold of clearing some things off the countertops, and that our photographers got in here taking advantage of really changing up the way that the photos are taken. And with 95% of our buyers starting online these days, your photos can make or break you. And so we have things where we're doing virtual walkthroughs, Matterport tours, drone photography. If we don't like the way a room looks, we go back in and have the photographer reshoot it again, because we want to make sure that you present as positively as possible in the first opportunity that we get. So if any of these things are interesting to you, I want to make sure that we have that option to be able to take advantage of that for you. Now, here's an actual testimonial and an experience from one of our clients. Her name is Christy. We've worked with her a couple of times, and she and her partner and their daughter, they were getting relocated to California in the middle of all of this. So they had to risk going on the market at the end of March. So I'd love for her to share with you a little bit about the experience, because we teamed up with her to help make sure the process was as smooth as possible for her.
Cheers to Vanpool Properties. I'm sitting here enjoying a glass of wine because I sold my house today. That can be a scary proposition in any climate, but at a world pandemic, and it's very uncertain and very scary. Nonetheless, Vanpool Properties are a team of professionals. They adjusted to the market, and it was easy breezy. This is the second house I have bought and sold with Vanpool, and it was just as easy this time during a pandemic as it was the first time around. So kudos to their team and to adjusting to the market. And if you have a home to sell or to buy, or you're in the market to buy, reach out to Vanpool today.
Christy's awesome, and her daughter is just the cutest, isn't she? That's Coco. She's adorable. And so now let's go to some Q&A. I've seen a couple of questions pop up here as we're on the side, so I'll be happy to answer some of those. And you know, if you have something that's a more personal question, or maybe a more tailored question that you need, go ahead and feel free to put that up in the chat, and we'll be happy to work with you to get that going as well. And I'm going to leave our contact information up here as we're answering questions, so that way if you need it, you have it available. All right, so it looks like, okay, Tony is asking, how long do you think it will take for my home to sell, and how long does it take to get it on the market? Great question, Tony. So when we're getting you ready to go on the market, it can be as fast as 48 hours, I would say. But I'll tell you right now, our MLS rules changed as of May 1st, which means that we can no longer get away with advertising you as a coming soon listing. This is nationally, not just Vanpool or Keller Williams or North Texas. This is nationally. As realtors, we cannot market you as a coming soon more than 24 business hours before you hit the market. So what you're seeing now is most people are going to start moving to coming soon marketing on a Friday, hitting the market on a Monday. And that allows you the most exposure, because you have then 2 days that are not business days in between the time that you market a home as a coming soon listing and the time it hits the market. And there's all sorts of really specific rules around that we have to heed. So I would say if you're considering doing that, that's something to consider. And then really your days on market depends on how you prepare it, right? If the home is clean, light bright, staged, photographed well, and priced well, Our average days on market for our team are 35 days or less until you hit a contract, and our MLS's average is 67. So we're outpacing by a little over 32 days for our clients to get their homes under contract. Okay, let's see. Thanks for asking that, Tony. It's a great question. All right. What is the next step that I need to do if I'm considering selling in the next year? Okay. Thank you, Michael. On that question, I would say if you're considering selling at any point in the next year, I would not wait until right before you're ready to hit the market. I would rather start looking at the market and having our team time the market for you now. We have like a whole list of clients that we literally just watch the market for them. And when there's a home sale that pops up that gives them a spike in value, or we see the market starting to trend down, we pick up the phone. I'll tell you, we had a client in the summer of 2017, which is when our luxury market really started to peak. And I was watching the market. They were on our list. We knew that they were coming up in the next year. They were building a beautiful home. And I started to see their neighborhood doing one of these where I could see it peaking. And so I picked up the phone and would call them and say, hey, we're seeing your neighborhood peak. We're seeing it starting to go down. I know you're not ready to move until next year, but we're starting to see the numbers turn. And he said, thank you for letting me know. We're going to stay. We don't want to move twice. I said, no problem. October, November, we see it again. So I pick up the phone. I say, I'm still seeing, yes, we talked this summer. I'm still seeing your numbers starting to decrease. I'm really afraid if you wait too close to next summer, your numbers are going to go down again. He said, thank you for telling me, Seychelle. We're still not ready to move. My wife will kill me if we move twice. I said, no problem. So what do you think happens then again? In February, I take a look. I'm like, oh my gosh, their home is not going to be ready to move in until July. But in February, we're looking at it and the numbers are really starting to turn. I'm afraid they're going to leave money on the table. And my job is to protect their investment. So I call again. I say, you can tell me no. I know I'm calling you for the third time and you're not ready to move yet. But I'm seeing that we're starting to really see movement downward in your neighborhood. He said, what do you think we should do? I said, I think we should hit the market before everybody else hits this summer and spring. We should get you on the market and we'll negotiate you a lease back. I will not let you be homeless. And I said, I will do everything in my power. You can say no to any offer we bring to you, but I'm really concerned about the numbers. Well, they took our advice, hit the market in March, which was about 3 months earlier than they wanted to be on the market. We got them a full price offer. And negotiated a 60-day lease back so they could stay in the home and not move twice. And I will tell you, less than 45 days after they sold, so they had 60 days to close. So 45 days after they sold, but they were still living in their home, the exact same floor plan in their neighborhood sold for $150,000 less. Exact same floor plan. And so if you are considering selling, I would say, please let us know. So that we can maybe do a video tour of your house, start keeping an eye on numbers for you, and make sure that we're doing everything that we can to protect your value and really be what I think is important, to be a consultant and a partner with you in this real estate journey, not just a salesperson. This isn't about us. This isn't about our needs or our timing. It's about really giving you the best education and information so that you can make the best decisions for what you need. And so if we can partner with you and understand what your goals are, we can help you accomplish those so much better. And then, okay, I'm going to take one more question. And if you guys have any others, you're welcome to put them in the chat and we'll make sure we circle back with you and answer them. I do think you can post anonymously, just a heads up. And so if you are going to post one more question, please put your name with it so we know who to reach out to answer. Okay. Last question is, if I'm considering investing, you mentioned that you're not sure what the market's going to do in 12 to 18 months. If I'm considering investing, what I would do is let's start talking about what types of investments make the most sense here for North Texas. There's a lot of options, right? We can go the single family rental route. We can go buying multifamily and small apartment complexes. We can go to duplexes and fourplexes, which we don't have as many of here as we do in other states. We can go to land or commercial or office space or medical. There's a ton of different options. And so depending on what your risk tolerance is and how long you want to hold this investment will make a difference on what we recommend. And then if we're not the specialist in that area, because I think it's hard to be a jack of all trades, we'll get you in touch with someone that specializes in that investment. Well, guys, this has been really powerful today. I'm so thankful for you for joining us. I really appreciate you. I hope it's been helpful for you too. And again, we're here to be a resource here at Vanpool Properties for you and hope you have an awesome day. Take care.